First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from September the 4th. We have two sets of minutes. We have the minutes from the executive session that was held at 6 o'clock, and then the regular meeting at 6:30 p.m.
And the minutes are wrong.
Move to approve?
Both?
Yes.
A motion to approve both
Can I say something?
sets of minutes. Do I have a second?
Been doing good.
I have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. Next item up for discussion are the financials that were distributed electronically. Get to them here. Oh, sorry. Any discussion?
Move to approve?
A motion to approve the financials is presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The financials are approved as presented. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by our intrepid consultants for the Gateway Project, Carl and Cheryl. So we'll turn it over to you all and let you give us sure. We have a request to modify the agenda. If you look at your agenda, we have a request to move the approval of the Tom Pittman engagement letter before. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Move to amend?
A motion to amend. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I approve. You all previously received a copy of the engagement letter to Thomas Pittman in regard to the bonding project for the Gateway Corridor project. Do we have any questions?
I move to approve as it was last submitted.
I have a motion to approve the engagement letter as presented for Thomas Pittman. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Engagement letter is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Cheryl and Carl. Oh, I appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having us here this evening. I see some familiar faces. I know they have been at some of our past public open houses, and so we thought that we would start just by giving an overview of where we are in the process and the project schedule. So we started this project, the construction documents portion of this project in April, and right now we're at a point where we're working towards a 100% review construction CD package that will be submitted to the Redevelopment Commission mid-month, October 15th. Followed by final construction drawings at the end of this month, so that approximately 2-week period in between those two is an opportunity for the commission to review and to make any comments and to do any final coordination that we might need to do. So what we're going to do this evening, let me back up from that. From that, after we submit that construction document package, then there'll be an opportunity for people to get the drawings, to submit their bids to us, and we're looking at bidding and contract award to take approximately 6 weeks. So sometime the first part of December would be when the bids would be due, and then we would open them, and then those would be up for review, then with the contract award, and then starting construction as soon as that contract is issued. Typically what will happen, especially in
Cheryl mentioned, we want to take just a few minutes, not the entire commission's time to go through every page, but we wanted to hit the highlights. And the detail sheets are really where, our site details are really where those highlights. So let's talk about this sheet, which is the north gateway and the south gateway. So the gateway at Samuel Moore and the gateway at Merriman Road will be identical in look, as we've talked about in the past. We've brought a number of materials with us, so we can actually walk you through the material selection that we're looking at. So let's just generally talk about the design that we have. It is a sign wall that is 9 feet in overall height from the ground plane to the top of the limestone, 9 feet. And at its highest point on the torch is 30 feet. So we have a monumental sign wall and torch with the state of Indiana incorporated into that. To the top of the state of Indiana is roughly 21 feet. To start to give you some scale and perspective. We are looking at the sign wall itself in brick, as we've talked about in the past. We are looking at the brick manufacturer from Mooresville, General Shale. And we brought 2 different samples from General Shale.
I'll do that.
So we can get
I'll be the man away.
If I'm not mistaken, both of these are produced out of the
Yes.
Mooresville foundry here, or
That's correct.
factory.
So General Shale produces brick at different places throughout the United States. And when we talked to them, they're like, well, we can send you brick from Virginia and Mooresville and all over, and they did. But what we really wanted was to do a brick that came from here, that came locally. And so we narrowed it down to 2, both of which go nicely with the brick that you've already got downtown. One is that would complement that as well.
So we brought both samples. We don't have to have a decision tonight, but we wanted to let the commission know that we are needing some decisions, and we feel like this is a great opportunity for you guys to help give us some feedback. We'll go through the rest of the materials as well, so you kind of get an idea of the family and how they all work together. At the bottom of the brick is a limestone piece, and that would be a smooth limestone, as well as the cap that is showing up here. Those are both smooth limestone. So your traditional smooth limestone, everybody's seen it. It's on almost every building in Indiana. It comes locally from this area, obviously, Bloomington area. We actually went down to some quarries down there and visited them and came up with actually different finishes to do on the limestone to give us a unique gateway for Mooresville. So that would be the material on this cap as well as on the base. And then let's talk about the state of Indiana as well. The state of Indiana obviously is shown right next to the torch. And I'm going to change sheets now. This is actually what we're proposing doing with the state of Indiana. Rather than just do one material, one limestone piece on it that was smooth cut, the whole thing, we felt like it really didn't celebrate the state of Indiana the same way we were celebrating the torch. We really have this torch that's this piece of artwork. The state needed to be this piece of artwork to complement it. And so we sit down and gave it some thought, and what we currently are showing is probably going to get refined before 100% documents, but thinking about the state of Indiana itself, this bottom portion is very hilly and rolling. So we are looking at that being out of limestone, but this big piece that Cheryl just picked up, which would be rock-based. So we see these regions that we've identified. We basically grouped a bunch of counties together and said these are different regions, so that when they go to construct it, it's not all one piece they're trying to put up, it's different regions. So this southern region would be that rock face. What we're calling the Corn Belt area northern region, where the Indiana dunes are, would be a shot sawn, it's called a shot sawn finish, but it looks more like a sandblasted finish to go along with the sand dunes of northern Indiana. And all that is set off by the smooth finish of this region with a medallion that identifies Mooresville. So thinking about it holistically, how can we, celebrate the state of Indiana in the same fashion that we're really celebrating the torch?
Carl, one time we talked about that in the meeting back then.
Yes. And we are still proposing that that M is back. That is correct. So at night it will glow. Let me back up here real quick, back to this sheet. So let's talk about the torch a little bit in and of itself. So the torch, again, just like the material on the top of the limestone here, get out of the shot. This is a limestone material running vertically on the torch. This is a metal fabric material, and then this would be metal all at the top. So the limestone would be smooth cut limestone. So again, we have smooth cut limestone along here, along the base, at the region that Mooresville falls in, and then on the tower, or on the torch itself. And then the metal, metal fabric, which happens in this location. We brought a few samples with us as well. We are in the process of refining exactly which one of these work best, and we actually were just in the process today of putting them up to light to say which has the transparency that we are really looking for. You'll notice in these, certain ones are more transparent than the other ones. We also need to think about there are going to be LED lights behind these. We don't want to look straight through them and see the LED lights shining back at us. So what we are actually leaning towards at this point is the Omega 1500, which is the one Harold just passed to George, to get that correctly. And that one is what we're currently looking at right now for that metal.
Carl, I have a question. You're gonna backlight a light, where's that power gonna come from?
That power is coming from a new service point that's being established, and we're bringing electricity to that site for, the one at, Samuel Moore had power.
Already, but then we'll bring power to the.
Maryland Road and India.
Right, and that power will sit behind, the connection line will
Yeah.
sit, in this case, behind the walls.
Absolutely not an expert about this stuff, but the density of that is ideal for not being able to see the light element of the glow.
Right.
But is it going to be
And that's why we're
so
studying that. We
so
requested a larger
the intensity,
sample.
yeah, the intensity of light can be managed probably better than the
Then
material.
the transparency can
Right.
be managed, right?
Yeah.
With the LED lights that we're using for all of the elements, the other thing is that we'll also be able to dim them once we get out. So
Similar situation at Merriman Road. At Indiana, that's a different situation. We're actually setting, what is called a signal cabinet. You see them all the time at a signalized intersection. They're a silver box, they have a door on them, you open them up. Typically, there's signal, equipment in there to run the traffic signals. And this one will actually have our service point going to that location, and then all the hardware to run the lighting for the Indiana gateway, the large gateway, will be in that cabinet. We feel like everybody's used to seeing signal cabinets at intersections, so it's gonna just blend into the landscape, and it's waterproof, weatherproof. You know, we're taking everything out of the elements in that type of situation. Yeah. So let's talk then a little bit about the large obelisk at Indiana. This is the big brother, if you will, to the smaller torches at Samuel Moore and Merriman. This guy is 58 feet in height, almost 60 feet tall. We basically, essentially doubled the size of everything when you're looking at the smaller one versus this one. Same type of material. The difference is down here at the bottom, because this one will sit in close proximity to the State Route 67. We didn't want to use limestone at the base because salt is not good for limestone. It tends to eat it. So we thought about that, and we've come up with this material, which is a granite. It matches very nicely with the limestone that will be above. We're not proposing that we do the entire thing out of granite. It would just be the bottom base. So it's essentially the bottom 4 feet 4 inches of that will be in this granite. And the reason we're saying the bottom 4 feet 4 inches is because if we look at where this is in location, bear with me a moment. We actually have that pulled off of State Road 67 to give everybody some bearings. Gray's is here in this location. This is the southeast corner. And there is an existing guardrail that's in that location. So we've actually taken the contours and the grading in this area and graded our location for our gateway will actually start 3 feet above ground level. So we're almost to the top of that guardrail before you will see the base of the tower. We didn't want the guardrail to be the obstruction. You see the guardrail before you see the tower. But 2, that adds another 3 feet on top of that 4 feet 4 inches. So we have a total of 7 feet that is essentially protected from salt spray before we would get into the limestone material that would be above that 7 feet 4 inches and up. And if you look at most salt trucks, NDOT salt trucks, that's going to be plenty high enough to be out of the salt spray in that location.
About how far from the surface would the base of that be? The surface of the road, I'm sorry, the edge of the road.
The edge of the road, so
Is that 10 feet? 15,
yeah. You recall,
Or
Cheryl?
just roughly?
I would say, well, bear with me just a moment.
I believe it's about 15 feet long.
Yeah, and it depends on what we're calling the edge of the road. The travel lane is actually out here, so there's about a 10-foot buffer here, and then you're probably another 10 feet off of that. So from the actual marked travel lane, you're probably over 20.
Okay.
But and again, we have a vertical guardrail in that location. From that guardrail to that monument, I can give you a better indication.
Oh, Carl, that's good enough. You are plenty far
Yeah,
enough
we
away.
tried to take that into consideration. One, we don't want it to get hit and damaged for you guys, because obviously that's a maintenance concern, but you never get the same quality of it being rebuilt the second time as you had it first. So we want to try to really try to think about that and take that into consideration.
And if you also notice that within state right away.
It is, and we still feel like it will have
Still
a
keep
major
going.
impact, because if you look at the southbound travel lane, this is in line with because the road curves as it comes around, and similarly, the northbound lanes curve as they come around, so it's in your view shed, at any given point, at some point, you're on axis with it, and then still with Indiana, we've actually moved it. We had it sitting out here in the median, and we moved it back to be in this location, so we're still on axis with Indiana as well. Do we have any more materials? Yes,
Just
the letters. So I'm gonna need to back up one moment. I got ahead of myself. So the letters on this sign are a pre-manufactured letter, and we are planning on powder coating those in a color. And when we talked last, there were some color options that we had for them. One, all the metal on the tower itself is silver that we just showed you. So this metal here would be potentially a silver or a stainless. We were proposing on the first option that the letters then be a silver. And what we've done is we brought both a silver and a black, so you guys could see them in contrasting with the brick that we're proposing in those locations. So you can see the silver contrast versus if the letters were in black, the amount of contrast we would have. And again, that's something we're asking from Mooresville. One, is there a particular color that you guys are in love with that, no, it has to be this color? If we're gonna powder coat anything, it needs to be this. We would like to know that. But also, is there a preference between these two colors? If you guys don't have a strong preference.
Should be blue.
How's that going to be lit?
It's going to be lit. We are placing a channel within this limestone, and it will have an uplight. It's a long linear light that will be hidden and concealed down here, and we are basically grazing this entire wall, and we'll have a cutoff here on this grazer that will not graze this, and then we'll backlight this metal. So, to answer your question, the letters themselves will be grazed from the ground up with a wall grazer.
The only experience that I have with this, and I've only actually been involved one time, that lighting from the bottom up, especially it's probably only gonna be about 6 or so inches in front of the base.
Yes, it's gonna be very close.
So, shadows can be a big issue, especially when it's just coming from one side. So if it's dark already, that can sometimes in certain circumstances cause those issues.
You know, the first thing.
But I didn't have these guys when I did.
The first thing that jumped out to me is state flag's blue, how come they're not blue?
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good question. We've talked about that. We actually have the metal here is going to be silver, and we're gonna backlight that with blue.
No.
Okay.
Which allows that to, and it allows you to change that color. If any time you wanna change that, it's a color changing LED. That way we're not stuck with.
You've got options.
We've got options on color.
And you don't have to worry about
We could-
fading it that way.
Right, you can do the same thing with the LEDs that are in this channel. Those are color changing as well, if I'm not mistaken, Cheryl. The
Yeah, yeah.
grazers are color changing as well, so, we can go with a standard color on everything and then change the color with the LEDs, which gives us more flexibility. Because once we paint it a color, it's gonna be that color all the time.
Yeah, I don't know, Cross, just the first thing that popped
Yeah.
into my mind, the
No.
color of the state flag's blue,
Right.
you know.
It's a good question,
It should
and
be.
I think that's
I
why.
don't know if anybody else thought about that or really cares, but.
Well,
I
we've talked
do.
about it. We've talked about it before. It was
Okay.
black prior,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wasn't it, Mindy? When it was up there, it's been down for a while.
Right, yeah.
I think it was black.
It was black.
I think to George's point, against this brick, both bricks that we're looking at, if we're looking at a high contrast volume, value,
I do, yes. I agree with him, it should be.
Now, I have another question for him, considering that channel. You say they're gonna put LEDs in that channel? How you gonna protect them from ice and snow? If there's not the correct cover on that channel, it's gonna fill with water, then come sub-zero temperature, it will freeze, and every bulb in there will shatter. How are you gonna protect it?
The light itself is a concealed light. We're not laying a strip of LEDs in there. It's an actual channel light itself. And the cover of it actually goes over the lip of the limestone. So we're covering that, and then there will be weep holes periodically.
Do you have a
within the
sample
limestone.
of that, just so we can see what it looks like?
Not with us today, no, I do not. But, we can provide one.
I think there should be one provided.
So,
And I personally think it should be blue, because it's more so colors.
The letters.
Yes.
Then moving on, from the letter discussion, we wanted to talk about the landscape planting plan, which Cheryl has been working on. And do you have any of those?
Well, is there any questions, any other questions on the, hardscape plans? We can, Carl and company can pull a blue, and we can take blue.
PMS 300 is what Judge very standard wood.
I think,
They're gonna give us.
I think we're on that.
We've already got the master plan.
Because I have.